Welcome to Chasing Curiosity TV. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. On September 14, 2025, headlines erupted across the globe. Beijing declares Scarborough Shoal a national marine park. The announcement sent shockwaves through newsrooms and governments alike, as the world tried to grasp the full implications of this sudden move. China announced sweeping new restrictions on access to the area, justifying the move under the banner of ecological protection. Officials insisted that these measures were necessary to preserve the fragile marine environment, but the timing and scope raised immediate suspicions. The world watched with growing concern, recognizing that this was no mere environmental gesture. It was a bold geopolitical maneuver, a calculated step in a long-running contest for control of the South China Sea. For the Philippines, the declaration was a direct affront to national sovereignty, sparking outrage among officials and citizens alike. Protests erupted in Manila, with demonstrators demanding a strong response. Scarborough Shoal, known locally as Panatag Shoal, is more than a disputed reef. It's a lifeline for thousands of Filipino fishermen. For generations, these waters have provided food, income, and a deep sense of heritage to coastal communities. Now, China's unilateral claim threatened to bar them from their own traditional fishing grounds, casting uncertainty over their future and livelihoods. Beijing's message was unmistakable. Control would be asserted not with warships or missiles, but with regulations, Coast Guard patrols, and the language of environmental stewardship. This was lawfare in action, a new kind of conflict, fought not on open seas but in courtrooms and through legal documents, all cloaked in environmental justifications. The South China Sea is a vital artery for global trade. Over a third of the world's shipping passes through these waters. Any disruption here sends shockwaves through the world economy, threatening supply chains and raising the stakes for every nation. China's move was widely seen as an attempt to solidify its sweeping 9-line claim, a boundary rejected by international courts but enforced through sheer presence and policy. Is this truly about protecting the environment, or is it a strategic play to tighten China's grip on a resource-rich, strategically crucial area? The answer remains hotly debated. In coastal towns across the Philippines, Filipino fishermen listened to the news in disbelief and growing fear. Their future, once tied to the tides, now seemed at the mercy of distant powers. For these families, Scarborough Shoal isn't just a political symbol, it's their livelihood, their heritage, and the foundation of their way of life. Generations have depended on these waters, passing down skills and stories from parent to child. Now they face the prospect of being branded as trespassers in waters their ancestors had fished for centuries, forced to navigate new rules and the constant threat of confrontation. The tension was no longer just diplomatic, it had become deeply personal, touching every family and every meal in these vulnerable communities. Manila's government scrambled to respond, phones ringing off the hook as officials weighed their options and sought international support. The world's eyes turned to the South China Sea, knowing that the stakes had just been raised and that the next moves could shape the region for years to come. The question on everyone's mind: would this be the spark that ignites a wider crisis, drawing in regional and global powers? The calm waters now hid a storm brewing beneath the surface as uncertainty and tension threatened to erupt at any moment. Manila's response was immediate and resolute, reflecting the gravity of the situation. Within hours, top government officials convened in emergency meetings, their faces tense with determination and concern. The Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs wasted no time, issuing a formal diplomatic protest that condemned China's move as both illegal and void under international law. The statement was clear and unwavering, signaling Manila's refusal to accept the new status quo. That evening, the president addressed the nation in a televised speech. With a firm voice, he declared, "We will not yield an inch of our territory. Panatag Shoal is ours." His words resonated with millions of Filipinos, stirring national pride and unity. Orders were swiftly issued to increase Coast Guard patrols in the disputed waters, ensuring the safety of Filipino fishermen and asserting the country's presence at sea. The Coast Guard's visibility sent a strong message of defiance. The protest was more than just words. It was a calculated legal maneuver, designed to ensure Manila's opposition was formally recorded and could serve as evidence in future disputes or international courts. Behind the scenes, Filipino diplomats worked tirelessly, briefing allies and rallying international support. They reached out to regional partners and global organizations, emphasizing the broader implications for international law and freedom of navigation. At the Chinese embassy in Manila, tensions ran high. Police maintained a visible presence as journalists gathered, eager for any sign of a breakthrough. Yet Beijing's stance remained unchanged, unmoved by Manila's protest. China doubled down, insisting the shoal was its inherent territory. Officials framed the creation of the marine park as an act of environmental stewardship, deflecting criticism and appealing to global audiences. In tense diplomatic meetings, the two sides spoke past each other, locked in a dialogue of the deaf. Neither was willing to compromise, and the gulf between their positions only seemed to widen. The diplomatic battle lines were drawn, with both nations preparing for a prolonged standoff that could shape the region's future. Manila's protest became a foundation for future legal challenges, setting the stage for possible arbitration and international legal action in the years to come. The world watched closely, aware that this standoff could last for years and potentially escalate into a larger conflict. News outlets broadcast updates, and public interest soared. For the Philippines, silence was not an option. Activists took to the streets, their voices echoing the government's resolve and demanding justice for their nation's rights. The fight for Scarborough Shoal had entered a new, more public phase, one that would test Manila's resolve and capture the world's attention for the foreseeable future. At the heart of the crisis is a clash between international law and China's ambitions. The 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, grants the Philippines exclusive rights to resources within 200 nautical miles of its coast. Scarborough Shoal sits well within this zone. China, however, claims historic rights based on its 9-dash line, overlapping the EEZs of several countries. Most of the world recognizes UNCLOS as the only legal basis for maritime claims. China's Nature Reserve Declaration is a strategic attempt to bypass UNCLOS, creating facts on the water. If historic maps can override international law, the rules-based order unravels. The standoff is about more than rocks and fish. It's about the survival of global norms. The world faces a test. Will law or power decide the fate of the seas? Scarborough Shoal is now a symbol of this struggle. The outcome will echo far beyond Asia. China's move defies a landmark 2016 international ruling. The Philippines had taken China to arbitration, and the tribunal ruled overwhelmingly in Manila's favor. The verdict: China's 9-dash line has no legal basis, and Scarborough Shoal is within the Philippine EEZ. China rejected the ruling outright, dismissing it as illegitimate. Instead of backing down, Beijing increased its presence at the shoal. The ruling remains legally binding, but without enforcement, it's ignored. China's new nature reserve is a continuation of this defiance. The ghost of the 2016 ruling haunts every move in these contested waters. China's strategy is lawfare, using legal tools as weapons. By declaring a marine park, China claims to protect the environment, not seize territory. Its Coast Guard now enforces ecological regulations, turning away Filipino boats as supposed violators. This greenwashing tactic gives China a veneer of legitimacy. Yet China's own island building has devastated coral reefs in the region. The environmental rhetoric rings hollow to those who know the history. For many, it's a power grab dressed up as conservation. The world sees through the eco-bluff, but the tactic buys China time and control. For Filipino fishermen, the crisis is painfully real. Every day they wake before dawn, hoping the sea will provide enough to feed their families. But the waters that once promised abundance now bring only anxiety and uncertainty. Before the Chinese came, a trip to Panatag could feed my family for a month, says Ricardo, a fisherman from Masinloc. He remembers when the shoal was open, and the catch was plentiful, enough to share with neighbors and save for leaner days. Now Chinese ships patrol the shoal, chasing locals away, sometimes with water cannons. The sight of these massive vessels is intimidating, and the threat they pose is ever present. It's our water, but we're treated like thieves. The frustration and anger among the fishermen are palpable, as they feel powerless in their own backyard. The loss of access has devastated coastal communities. Once busy harbors are now eerily quiet, and the local economy has ground to a halt. Catches are down, incomes have plummeted, and families are pushed deeper into poverty. Children go to bed hungry, and parents worry about how to pay for school or medicine. My son wanted to be a fisherman, but now I tell him to find work in the city, says Elena, a fish vendor. She fears the sea can no longer offer her family a future. The psychological toll is immense. Fishermen fear for their safety every time they set out. Anxiety and dread have replaced the pride they once felt in their work. Encounters with the Chinese Coast Guard are tense and unpredictable. A single wrong move could mean losing their catch, their boat, or even their lives. Many now avoid the shoal, leaving only the desperate to risk the journey. The sea, once a source of hope, has become a place of fear. The loss is cultural as well as economic. Fishing at Scarborough Shoal is a tradition passed down for generations. Grandfathers teach grandsons the secrets of the tides, but now those lessons may end. China's actions are erasing not just livelihoods but heritage. The memories of bustling docks and shared meals are fading, replaced by uncertainty and loss. The stories from the water's edge are a stark reminder. Geopolitics has a human cost. Each fisherman's tale is a testament to resilience, but also to the pain of being unheard. The world debates law and sovereignty, but for these communities the crisis is about survival. Every meal, every day, is a struggle to endure. Their voices are often lost in the headlines. The world sees politics, but they live the consequences. Yet, they are the true front line of this conflict. Their courage and determination keep hope alive, even as the odds grow longer. The fate of Scarborough Shoal is, for them, a matter of life and death. Their struggle is not just for fish, but for dignity, tradition, and the right to call these waters home. China's playbook at Scarborough Shoal echoes its takeover of Mischief Reef in the 1990s. What began as fishermen's shelters became a sprawling military outpost. Each step, civilian, then scientific, then military, was incremental but relentless. Analysts fear the marine park is just the first move. Next could come research stations, then permanent infrastructure. The pattern is clear: establish a presence, then expand and fortify. Scarborough Shoal could soon become another strategic stronghold in China's maritime triangle. The Philippines is not alone. The United States reaffirmed its defense treaty, warning that attacks on Philippine vessels would trigger mutual defense commitments. U.S. Navy ships conducted freedom of navigation operations, challenging China's claims. Japan and Australia voiced strong support for the Philippines and the 2016 ruling. These allies emphasized the need to uphold UNCLOS and the rules-based order. International backing gives Manila leverage, even against a far stronger China. The world's response isolates Beijing diplomatically. The message: China's actions will not go unchallenged. The coalition of support is a crucial counterweight in this high-stakes standoff. The Scarborough Shoal crisis is a global issue. The South China Sea is a superhighway for trade. 1/3 of global shipping passes through. If China can restrict access here, it could threaten the world's supply chains and energy security. The principle of freedom of navigation is at stake. China's defiance of international law challenges the post-war order built on rules, not might. If unchecked, this could embolden other powers to rewrite the rules. The world's response will set a precedent for the future of peaceful seas. Upholding international law here is vital for global security.